Hey guys, it's Jess and Adri from Stark Skincare. We are doing a video about perfectionism. Super ironically, this is like take I don't even know what. Which is really funny because normally all of the videos are just done in one take. So we are recovering perfectionists, still struggling, clearly. Although one time it was technical difficulties. And that was going to be the winner of the videos. That was the perfect video. It was the perfect one.
Go on.
Okay, so the reason why, or one of the reasons why we really want to be talking about perfectionism, like within the green beauty community, is because, for one, perfectionism has sucked the joy out of green beauty. Green beauty, at least to me, used to be so, I mean, I still love what I do, don't get me wrong, but the community seemed far more joyful. They were just really, like, everyone was like having fun, being curious about green beauty and the different ingredients and exploring it. And there was less fear-mongering. There was less of this like relentless pursuit for the perfect ingredient, the perfect product. Like, and now it's like, okay guys, like what's the #1 serum for this super specific problem that doesn't contain A, B, and C and contains D, E, and F? And it's like, it's so much, and the expectations are so high. And high expectations, as we're going to talk about, is a form of perfectionism.
Unrealistic, not high.
Yeah, sorry, not high. Unrealistic expectations. Totally fine to have high expectations. I expect you to, as a consumer of green beauty, because you should have higher expectations. That's why you're here, and we do deliver higher value. Thank you. It's a really long day. What was I saying? But
Go on.
So as a company, it's kind of like, I want everyone to keep their expectations in check, but then as a consumer, you don't want to just have a life of disappointments. Like, every time you buy something, you're disappointed. Every time you splurge on something, you're like, this sucks, So it's about keeping your expectations reasonable and, bringing joy back into green beauty by examining perfectionism. So, and also, if you are a perfectionist, it means that you're going to be more vulnerable to, to feeling insecure, because if you're an imperfectionist, if you're a perfectionist, you're often thinking about your imperfections, right? So companies can very easily prey on that and sell you a whole bunch of crap you don't need. So let's move on to what perfectionism is.
Right, okay. So perfectionism is often confused with other things, but the way we like to define it is just having where you're not accepting anything less than perfect as being good enough.
Right. This is such a testament to all of this right now. It's so funny.
So it's different from having high standards, which is good depending on where you're, as long as you're conscientious and where you apply it, right?
Right.
Not everything.
Yeah.
But versus having expectations that are just unrealistic.
Right.
Right. And not where perfect is good and is the only way that it's good enough is if it's perfect.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what perfectionism is.
Yeah. And then, like, if you, as a consumer of something like green beauty, when you're exposed to all of the media, Instagram accounts and whatever, it's like your expectations go higher and higher and higher and higher. Expectations in what a product's going to deliver, but also expectations in yourself. You're like, oh, if I want to, be healthier, then I have to be this, like, acrobatic yoga, like my hamstrings need to rotate at such a degree, like it just gets really crazy, right? And my skin has to like glow from within and just all this stuff, and it's totally out of hand.
Yeah.
It's totally out of hand. So is do you want to talk just about some of the forms of perfectionism?
Well, we can talk about for us what we've our forms, right? Because that's what we're most familiar with, and it's also happens to be the forms of perfectionism that you wouldn't expect if you don't know too much about it. So you think perfectionism is something that some people are proud of, and it's like, you know, oh, I'm such a perfectionist, and you have, you know, everything in their house is in order and like all tidy, everything, like that's the image that comes to mind when you think of perfection.
Yeah, and they're like immaculately
dressed and everything.
Yeah.
But perfectionism often leads to paralysis. It leads to concern over mistakes, doubts over actions, things where you're just self-handicapping. That's a big one, right? For us as well. And those are all forms of perfectionism. So, and those are the ones that you're less likely to associate with perfectionism.
Right.
And those are the ones that we have often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
like in school, for example, we both would do the same things where like we wouldn't actually, like we were both, we both did really well in school, but we wouldn't necessarily ever try our hardest because there was expectations of us as like top students or whatever, and of delivering a certain amount of work. But I think we were always afraid that we weren't going to measure up to that. So if you don't try very hard, then at least you can be like, well, I didn't actually try. So maybe I got an A, maybe I got a B plus, but you know, I did it last minute and like put no effort into it and was watching a movie at the same time. So you sound like a total jerk, to be honest. Like it kind of makes you sound like a jackass, but it's actually trying to deal with perfectionism and with expectations and that
protecting your ego.
And protecting your ego.
You don't want to put effort into things because you're afraid that you won't measure up to the level where you think.
And of disappointing people.
Yeah, right.
So that's that's one way that perfectionism shows up. Another one would be procrastination. Yeah. So it can be procrastination, just, you know, like you've got like the email that you need to write or whatever, and you just save it for the end of the day, or you're writing a book, but like you haven't even written the first word yet, or you could be a couch potato, like literally just idling. And that's a total form of perfectionism. And it's so funny because that's the opposite of what you would ever expect it to manifest itself as. And in fact, like the way that our perfectionism like shows up is completely different, because he's like, you know, he's the math guy and he's like super organized and just like really analytical, and I'm creative, so I'm just like, you know, a spastic mess half the time. So like, but we're both perfectionists, but like he would just be like, you're not a perfectionist because you're disorganized, and I would be like, you're not a perfectionist because you don't put out very much work. So just, it's like it can just show up in so many different ways. It's like a shape-shifting coyote or whatever, right? So it's like you can't just say like, oh, I'm a perfectionist, this person's not, or whatever. Like it can be blamed on like a plethora of issues.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's really important to understand it and to examine it,
because it's paralyzing, and that's the thing. It's really it prevents you from making progress, and that's one of the most damaging aspects of being perfectionist, is that you cannot accept incremental progress as being progress.
Exactly.
Right. So a simple example is that, you know, exercise has to be, you know, like a 45-minute run at 6 a.m. right? And anything less than that is not considered progress.
Not good enough.
Right?
And then you break the chain, as like Seinfeld would say. Was it Seinfeld with the chain? Okay. So you break the chain, and then you can't, and then you're done, right? And then it's like, well.
Yeah, but more importantly, you often don't even start. Right?
Yeah, because you're so afraid of.
Well, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is so big, right? And you only accept like a jump from here to there as being like good enough.
Yeah.
Right? And like you can't.
Especially when with some things you've experienced that jump. So like we were talking earlier about learning languages, learning an instrument, maybe art, well, maybe not art, maybe a sport, where like you go from zero to something. Maybe within minutes, you know, like maybe within minutes of learning Spanish, you can say 10 words or something like that. But then, you know, you go on maybe a few weeks, maybe, and all of a sudden you're like the rate of growth or the rate of improvement slows down considerably. And then you lose motivation because you're like, now I'm not as good, you know?
Yeah. So you expect to keep that pace up. And so instead of pushing yourself and learning more, you just end up quitting that thing.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we've both done, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'll just talk about how I got over at least a chunk of my own perfectionism, because you're witnessing it right now. For me, just getting on video, starting video has been to me, just like a really obvious proof. That's a bad sentence. Okay. A very obvious proof that I've gotten over some of my perfectionism. Yeah. So for me, it's been years that people are like, you should have a YouTube channel, just do videos about your products and blah, blah. And I've been too scared. I was just like, I thought that there'd be a certain expectation of the way that I should look and act and speak and clothes that I wear and, not ever swear or be silly or be myself. But like, I can't not be authentic. And I know that's like a really inauthentic thing to actually say, but it's something like I struggle with, like, like in regular jobs and stuff like that. Like I always felt like put in a little box. It was just really hard for me. And then that was actually a problem that I was having with Stark, is that I felt like I wasn't really showing up. So anyways, I really wanted to do video and I was so scared and I couldn't do it. Yeah. So I just started with those silly little Instagram story video things, whatever, like where you see me showing up like in the morning and I'm like all greasy and no makeup and I'm just like, hey guys, bleh. And I was so scared to do that. And then I started doing it and it got easy. And I was like, oh, people think it's funny or like they like it or whatever. And no one's like sent me something, like said something mean or like, I don't know, whatever. I do expect trolls. I mean, I am on the internet, but I thought that, it went well. And the most incredible thing happened is I felt free. Yeah. Just this sense of freedom, like I can't even explain to you, like more free than when we were traveling for 5 months. Like, and I know that sounds like ridiculous, but like it's really not, because this was like, it was such a block for me. Yeah. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna start. I'm just gonna do it. Yeah. And it's not perfect. And I know that my videos aren't edited. They're not perfect. Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that like, but it's not about not caring. Remember about like, the thing is that like, when you care too much and you set the bar so high that you don't actually do anything that's damaging. So like,
much worse.
If you really care about putting out good work, the best way to do it,
and care about your customers,
the best way to do that is to just repeatedly put out work, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that you lower your standards to nothing. You just lower them from perfect.
That's right? The thing, yeah.
So like,
this life coach that I follow, I'll leave a link below. She's really awesome. She says that this won't even be remotely verbatim, but like, she's like, forget about A-level work. In school, you have to strive to get that A, to get that A+, which honestly, what does that even mean? It would really depend on the teacher, right? So you'd aim for that A or that A+ all the time, and that was the mark to hit, right? But we're not in school anymore. We're not in school anymore, and so we don't have to get those A's. So instead of stressing about the A-level work and then just not getting it done, because your A-level work when you're an adult and you have your own company and you're like putting out work that you actually care about is going to be like really high. Like the videos I actually want to be making are nothing like this. I don't mind these. I think they're good, but they're not what I had ever envisioned. My A-level videos, totally not. What these videos is what she recommended to do. And this is C-level. This is like, it's pretty good. It's good. But you know what's important is it's getting out there.
And you're getting better.
And I'm getting better by doing it. I'm practicing, and I'm getting over the imperfectionism by just...
Perfectionism.
Yes. Getting over perfectionism by just getting my work out there. Because, and I know like that is more important. Like these aren't beautiful, edited, fancy videos, but I think they're helpful. They're okay.
If it helps one person, then it's worth having done this. Right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Right. Totally. Yeah. So that for me, like I can attest to just getting over little bits of perfectionism can be the most liberating experience. Yeah. So I highly recommend it. So we're going to recommend a really great resource.
Yeah. So
you can...
most books on perfectionism, and I've read many, they are either spend a lot of time trying to tell you what perfectionism is, or tell you all kinds of studies and all kinds of things, but like they never end up giving you what you can do about it, right? And
I hate books like that. It's like, here are the 10 million scientific studies, and then it's just like, you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do anymore. And it's like, and then there's no like recourse.
This is not like that. So this is the best book on perfectionism I've read. It's How to Be an Imperfectionist by Stephen Guise.
Or Stephen Guise. We're not sure how to pronounce his name.
Really, really good book where first of all, he spends a portion of the book breaking down perfectionism and what it is, but not study after study, but in a way that really you understand
resonate.
it.
Yeah.
And it just exposes so many of the other ways that perfectionism affects you. But more importantly, he tells you what to do about it, and very specific actions that you can take repeatedly to actually get over the issues that are most important to you and the sources of perfectionism that are most applicable to you.
Yeah.
And it really helps.
And it's
really
for like
works.
all kinds of stuff. It's work, it's parenting, it's relationships, it's the physical self, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite tips that you've used? And then I'll tell you mine.
Well, for me, the most important is just focusing on the process as opposed to getting the results, and the tips around getting your mindset so that you can do that, right? Because so much of my work stalls when I start trying to find the perfect solution. I'm working
programs.
I'm a programmer
And a writer.
Yeah. So I'm focusing so much on trying to find the perfect solution that I spend so much time chasing that that I don't do incremental progress where I am. And it ends up being just horrendous waste of time. Like so much energy is spent trying to find the perfect solution that will solve all the problems at the same time, that I never actually make any progress and deliver new features to my customers that are waiting for it.
Not that you never do.
No, I never do.
Tendency.
But the ratio between how much work I could put out if I were to just focus on making incremental progress and not be perfectionist about it, versus how much I can procrastinate if I am being perfectionist about it is huge, right? It's like several months of procrastination can be compressed to a few weeks of trying. That's the level of how much impact it can make in work is what I'm focusing on, but it applies to all kinds of other things, right? And so like you have a different favorite tip from this book, which is...
Mine is, I'm not sure how does he put it? It's like practice acts of rebellion.
Yeah.
So, of course, I love that one. So it's like whatever people don't expect of you, do that.
Well, not exactly. It's more just... I know that you know...
Don't be a perfectionist about it, Adri.
No, but I'm saying that it's
just
not...
joking.
it's when what you want to do is different from what people expect, and you have a need for approval. Right? So if
need for approval, important, especially like in green beauty too.
Yeah. So when you have those two things, it's kind of teaching you to focus on what's important, which is what you want to do and who you want to be, and not what's unimportant, which is what other people want you to be or what you think they do and all that kind of stuff. So
that was such a struggle for me, just with my company and stuff for a really long time. And I feel like now I'm finally being more of my true self. And I feel like I'm sort of doing unexpected things, but that are really true to me, such as, calling out, a lot of the issues with green beauty. I mean, this is the industry that I'm in and that I love. And yet I'm spending an extreme amount of energy talking about the things that I don't like about it to try to help my consumers, that sounds so weird, to try to help consumers in the green beauty sphere make better informed choices.
And because it's authentic, it's what you feel and you've felt for a long time, right?
Yeah.
That it was it was kind of trapped in getting out because of the expectations that you had and all that stuff. And
like expectations of all kinds. Like I talked about, just like the way I look, like even though like I think I have good skin, like that's really all, like if you want to just take it to a shallow level, that's all that should really matter if you're a founder of a skincare company. But it wasn't just that. It was mostly like just how I needed to to speak about my industry, how cheerful and super positive I would have to be all the time because everything is super great. And, you know, like, and I'm not like that. Like, I am really goofy and I am pretty positive, but I've also got this like very dark side and this super critical side and this like really like just raw, like, you know, part of me. And I want, like, it's the yin and the yang. And like, I have to have both present to feel better. And I already feel so much better with like the new version of Stark because it's way more me and Stark. It's like getting down to its roots.
Yeah. So I guess to summarize it, if you feel that you're a perfectionist, I think you really
definitely are.
Yeah, you probably are. And in many cases where even you don't think you are, if you feel that you procrastinate, if you have doubts over actions, if you're concerned over making mistakes, like there's many reasons why you might be perfectionist and not even realize it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If any of those are true, I highly recommend checking out
this book.
Yeah. And what else?
And then get your work out there.
Yeah.
So we hope that is helpful and inspires you to look into perfectionism a little bit more because it's doing nobody any favors. And I look forward to reading your comments. And thanks, Adri, for being back here and all the technical difficulties and whatnot we went through.
We did it.
Oh, we did it. Okay, let's go have a glass of wine. Bye.